Welcome to the conversation on the TYT network. Joining me is an old friend, Liz Winstead. She's the co-founder of The Daily Show, and she's founder of Abortion Access Front. And we're going to talk about Amy Coney Barrett. Liz, good to have you back.
Thanks. It's great to be here, always.
All right. So first, today there was news that Democrats have a shot at blocking the nomination now because 3 Republican senators, including 2 on the Judiciary Committee, have coronavirus. So they would have to ask for quorum calls and then boycott the proceedings to delay it. It seems like it could be a fairly easy thing to do. Now, Mitch McConnell might have countermeasures that he institutes, and it would be a battle at the end. And they're running out of time. They'd only have a week left by the time they got to the general vote in the Senate floor. So first, let me ask you, are you hopeful that the Democrats could pull off any maneuver to delay these proceedings enough to affect it before the election?
Democrats pulling off a maneuver is a hilarious concept because it seems this repetitive nature of Democrats where they keep bringing a PowerPoint presentation to a knife fight, and it's just got to stop. So like, I wish they would have some kind of plan. I guess I'm hoping, I mean, I don't even know how to say I'm hoping. The fact that it would take a pandemic to infect senators, and that's the only way we could stop this horrifyingly unqualified person to get on the Supreme Court feels really scary. I don't know. The only trick I know that Democrats would have up their sleeve, and it is something that Norm Ornstein from the American Enterprise Institute put out there, which is, he said, hey, Schumer, if this was reversed and you were the majority leader, what the Republicans would do is they would wait till enough of you got sick, and then the Senate minority leader would call everyone together, and those that weren't sick would show up, and he would have enough votes to say, we're gonna elect a new majority leader, and it's gonna be me. And then first thing we're gonna do is, of course, switch out all the judiciary, the chairmanships, so that you wouldn't even call Amy up for a vote. And you would make sure you would ban anybody with corona from the floor of the Senate. Like, I would not put that past Republicans to do that. And I was like, I wish that they would be that cagey, but I don't see it. At this point, I feel like if people keep getting sicker, McConnell's not gonna have any choice because of the gestational nature of corona. You can get sicker and sicker, and you have to quarantine. So, fingers crossed that that's the way that this person does not get a hearing.
So Tom Cotton already said, we'll wheel them in if we have to, meaning we'll endanger all of your lives if we have to, because we're pro-life.
Yeah, exactly. Oppressing women is just this important to us. Now, when it comes to oppressing women, we are gonna wheel them in, we're gonna poison everybody, we're just going in hard.
Yeah, so let's talk about Barrett herself. First, quickly, of course, when she gets up there, if she gets up there, she'll say, Roe versus Wade, I've never put any thought into it. And my God, of course, it won't affect how I view judicial precedent. That's what they all say, and then they never act on it. They're all liars. Let's just keep it real. Okay, so we know that, but what gives you confidence that unfortunately she would overturn Roe v. Wade?
Well, the confidence that I have is that she currently sits on the 7th Circuit, and the 7th Circuit has already had 2 abortion cases before it. The 7th Circuit is Kentucky and Indiana, and some varying other places. The first case she ruled on was minors seeking, there was a law in Indiana where minors seeking abortion would have to get their parents' consent. And normally in many states that is a law. And if the parents don't consent, the minor can go through a judicial bypass, which is horrifying enough that a minor would have to ask a judge if they could get an abortion, because a judge who meets somebody in 10 minutes can really assess whether or not you're capable of having an abortion. And if you're not, then you're for sure capable to parent. This Indiana law is different because the Indiana law removed any judicial bypass. So if your parents said no and if the person who impregnated you didn't want you to have an abortion, they could stop you. Just ostensibly giving ownership to a person's body to somebody they had sex with, which is horrifying. So she already ruled that did not pass because it's unconstitutional and against Roe v. Wade. She voted in the dissent. The second case was, I'm sure you've heard that in several states, workarounds Roe v. Wade is trying to create these oppressive laws against abortion providers. And the other one that she ruled in favor of or said was constitutional was forcing a provider to provide cremation or burial services for every fetus, miscarriage, or abortion in the state of Indiana. And at first you're thinking, oh, must be that big funeral lobby coming in hard and saying we want that. No, like the Cremation Society of America, they were like, this is an impossible thing to do. It's also oppressive. It's also unnecessary. And what is the point of it? And the state was arguing the point of it was for the dignity of the fetus. And so when they couldn't find a way around making this feasible, the state suggested mass graves for the dignity of the fetus. So their own hypocrisy comes in. And she also thought that that was perfectly fine and constitutional. So you add those two rulings and the fact that in 2006, she signed on to a letter to St. Joseph Right for Life. St. Joseph is a community outside of South Bend where she is a professor at Notre Dame and went to school there. They're a virulently aggressive strain of anti-abortion folks. She signed on to a letter saying that abortion is barbaric. And this organization has sent hundreds of protesters to the clinic in South Bend. This organization bought literally a cat hospital and turned it into a fake clinic so they could lure people seeking abortion in South Bend over to this other fake clinic that looks like an abortion clinic, but really it's a place where they dissuade and lie to patients seeking abortion care. So she's on record 100 times over as ruling specifically against the tenets of Roe v. Wade in other lower court decisions, and virulently as an activist has come forward with anti-abortion rhetoric and signing onto like really inflammatory, dangerous language when it comes to her own activism.
So Liz, of course, a lot of folks are saying her religion should be out of bounds, and now Democrats are scared to death to bring it up. And they're already, Dick Durbin and others are putting out statements saying, "Oh my God, we definitely won't touch that." But she is in a group called People of Praise, that is a sect of Catholicism, and she's written in the past, "A legal career is but a means to an end, and that end is the building the kingdom of God." And that you Catholic lawyers should consult with, quote, God before making a choice. So do you think it's fair to discuss these issues? And do you think it's politically positive or negative to discuss those issues?
Well, first of all, I think the hypocrisy of acting like we don't talk about religion when Peter King, who is a congressperson from New York, actually held hearings on whether or not Muslims should actually work in our government after 9/11. So when it comes to any other religion that is not Christianity, they don't mind bringing it up at all, demonizing it, bastardizing it, turning it into something else. When your religion has formed who you are in making decisions that go out of the bounds of our Constitution, those things should be called into question. This People of Praise that you cite, you have to make a covenant to People of Praise, and part of that covenant is that you have made a pact and made a decision that your husband rules the opinions in the household. And if somebody who's making opinions on a higher court about my life is now consulting the People of Praise cult and their husband's opinions, that's 3 people I didn't ask for to have opinions about my own body and about how to interpret the Constitution. And I'm sorry, no, then it is in play.
Yeah, and they do literally have handmaids, and they're supposed to also consult their handmaids. Yes. They recently changed the name because of Handmaid's Tale, which was based on them. But
so when you have a Jesus whisperer in your world, and you think that that's fine and when you also what kind of person who believes that the highest power that they believe in is their religion and their God. Why would you allow secular laws to supersede that? When we're talking about your time on earth versus your time in eternity, why would you believe the person who says, I'm really gonna really think about this and not let my eternal life get in the way of my short time on earth? It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, and Liz, to your point about Muslims, if the nominee was Muslim and said, oh, I have a fundamentalist view of Sharia law, and I'm guided by that, and I let it affect my decisions, as she has said about her version of Catholicism. And oh, by the way, my imam appointed a Sharia handmaiden for me, and I must consult her before making all of my decisions. And as a good Muslim woman, I must let my husband, who you don't know and is not going to be part of this proceedings, make the decisions for me. Any chance that person would be confirmed?
Any chance that person would be let into our country? We have laws against that. We have a racist Muslim ban already in place, because of the very thing you just said.
Yeah, and look, I will defend Muslim Americans to the end. They're 100% American, not 99% or 50%. But if there was a fundamentalist Muslim who wanted to go on the Supreme Court and say, hey, my interpretation of Islam is that we cut off hands if you steal something, so I'm gonna apply that on the Supreme Court, my answer to that would be, hell no, you're not. That's not how it works. Your job is not to interpret the Quran or the Bible or your Handmaid's Tale. Your job is to interpret the Constitution.
Right.
And your dogma should have nothing to do with that, but she's proudly declared that it will. So ironically, God help us all.
And also, Democrats should just be holding up their own Catholics who have not allowed things to get in the way. Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, I've held both of their feet to the fire on their stances on abortion, because they don't rule against abortion, but they don't advocate for it. It's just like there are people on the Supreme Court already who are Catholic. I'm sorry, there's already 5 of them. So it's not like we have a problem putting Catholics on the Supreme Court. It's the majority religion.
That's right, on the court at least.
Yeah, on the court, yes.
Right. Liz Winstead, everybody check out Abortion Access Front. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
On the go? Don't worry, we got you covered. You can still listen to TYT at our new podcast network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, the Google Play Store, or at tyt.com/podcast.